Welcome to the Alchemy for Authors podcast. I'm your host, Jo Buer. If you're an author, aspiring author, writer, or wordsmith, you're in the right place. Join me as I chat with authors and industry professionals and share my own experiences with using manifestation and mindset practices to supercharge our writing lives. We'll explore ways to overcome writer's block and imposter syndrome. We'll find motivation and inspiration to get our butts in the chair and our stories written. And most importantly, we'll embark on creating lives and livings doing what we love. If you've ever dreamed of a prolific, wealthy, happy or healthy author career or writing practice, then this show is for you. So let's dive into Alchemy for Authors. Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me for episode 56 of Alchemy for Authors. I really am so appreciative that you choose to spend your time this way. We all know what a finite resource time can be, but as today's guest reminds us, life is meant to be fun. And my hope is that you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of today's episode. So first though, a quick personal update from me. If you've been following this podcast or my socials, you'll know I'm gearing up to release my first paranormal cozy book in July, Hades Haunt. It's with my ARC readers at the moment, and I'll admit I've been a little nervous waiting to hear what they think of it. Usually I write dark, suspenseful gothic fiction, so this has been a real change of voice and style for me. Other than more nasty grammar gremlins that have managed to escape so many edits, the feedback and comments so far has been really great. So I'm almost ready to sit down for a final go through and edit, and then it will be almost ready for launch on July 11th. So that is really exciting. I'm still needing to work on the blurb, and at the moment I have Hades Haunt up for pre-order on a few different storefronts, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords, with more places to follow. So I've got a bit of a placeholder blurb there, but we'll be reworking that to give it a little bit more oomph, I guess. I don't know about you, but if there's one part of the writing process that I obviously do have some blocks around, it is writing blurbs. So any advice on that, really appreciated. But otherwise, I'm excited to have what will be my third full-length novel out into the world. Woohoo! So I will admit though, writing, publishing, all the book stuff has been going a little bit slower lately as I'm dealing with some tough stuff in my family life at the moment. I have a family member in their final days or maybe weeks of life. And maybe you've been in this situation before, but it is tough and surreal and an absolute roller coaster of emotions. And I know that trying to get my head in the space of writing or editing or publishing books during these kind of times, it's a real struggle. But I guess it's also, in case anyone ever forgets, a reminder to not take anything for granted because, as the saying goes, life really is quite short and we need to always remember what is actually important to us. And I love this quote that how we live our days really is how we live our life, which in turn brings me to today's episode. Now, it is a great episode. I'm just going to start by saying that, but I do feel like I need to share a bit of a heads up about this episode. It is a lot of fun, but it may not be for everybody. I get to talk to the amazing award-winning author and clinical hypnotherapist Tammy Tyree, and I first encountered Tammy through Carissa Andrews' Millionaire Author Manifestation program that I've talked about quite a few times now on this podcast. I underwent a group hypnotherapy session with her, and then I started reading her memoir, Dead Men Still Snore, and wow, I just knew that I had to have her on the show. But here's the thing, you will need to have a very open mind with this one to really get the most from this episode. We go deep into the woo-woo, my friends. So Tammy shares her thought from a believer's perspective on themes like life after death, channeling, past lives, self-hypnosis, and demons and entity attachment, all in relation to her books and experiences as an author, of course. So I know that the subject matter may not be everyone's cup of tea. I'm pretty open about most things myself, but I'll even admit that demons and entity attachment is not something I've personally experienced or necessarily believe in myself. But I also know that I haven't experienced everything out there in the universe, and Tammy's perspective is super fascinating, particularly as it pertains to her books. So I do encourage you to come along for this journey. Despite what might seem a little bit of dark subject matter, Tammy's positivity and drive to have people understand that they're more powerful than they think they are is super inspiring and uplifting. And hey, if you're a fantasy, paranormal, or horror writer, then this might actually just be the perfect episode for you to get those creative cogs turning. But regardless of your personal beliefs about the supernatural, I am going to really highly recommend her memoir, Dead Men Still Snore. It really does deserve all the awards it's won. But anyway, I guess it's time to get on with the show. So when you're ready, grab a drink, find a comfy chair, sit back, and enjoy the show. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to Alchemy for Authors. Today, I'm chatting with Tammy Tyree. Tammy is a distinguished author and clinical hypnotherapist who has gained extensive knowledge and expertise in all things paranormal, witchy, and ghostly through years of experience working with entity attachments and demonic possession. Her books are a unique blend of her case studies, mythological facts, and a touch of humour. With an award-winning record, Tammy's writing style has become a trademark of her skills and knowledge in the field. Born and raised in Canada, Tammy is a proud mother of 4 adult children and 1 adorable granddaughter. When she's not busy writing, she enjoys indulging in various activities like working out at the gym, paddleboarding, camping, reading, soaking up the sun, crocheting, or experimenting with new, mouth-watering artisan pizza recipes. Tammy partners with my good friend Carissa Andrews in the Millionaire Author Manifestation Program as the group's hypnotherapist. Though retired from her practice, she still takes referrals and works with program participants. So welcome to the show, Tammy. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Joe. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, I'm just absolutely thrilled. I think we've got a lot in common with our interests in that besides just the writing. So I've got so much that I want to talk to you about today, but I would love to start with you just talking a little bit about what set you on the author path, your author journey.
Well, my first part of the journey comes pre-kids, or when the kids were all quite small, and I was in a writing group in the little town where my kids were born and raised. And we published in anthologies and poetry, and I delved into erotica, actually. I was writing erotic fiction, so I was also published in anthologies. This is back in the day. My oldest is 33 now, so it's been a while. And then I had kind of a gap of time where the most writing I was doing was journaling, a few articles and things like that, and just mainly taking a break because you're focusing on the kids. Always with that in mind, in the back of my mind, that I want to get back to writing. I want to get back to writing. I want to get back to writing. So what happened to then catapult that to where I am now is an accident that my husband and I were in 2019 in Mexico. My husband passed away, and I basically walked away virtually unscathed. I had a concussion and I had a little break in my ring finger. But for the most part, it was one of those, sad moments in life, obviously, but meant to be. My husband started channeling me in a hospital when I was recovering. And he told me, he says, we're going to write a book together, and this is what it's about. And he gave me the synopsis and everything. And I was still, quite concussed. I couldn't even hold a pen. So as he was sort of downloading lots of information and everything about what was happening on the other side, I was like, whoa, just hold your horses. Just let me heal. And then let's talk about this. So I was surprised, but not surprised, because I have a very spiritual belief system. Knowing that channeling someone was possible, it's not something that I'd ever personally done. So this was new to me, and it was really quite surreal. So it took 2 years, 8 months of virtually working with my husband back and forth, and knowing when it is that he was ready to give me messages, things to write for the book. I could smell his cigarette smoke. So I would know it's time. Okay, there's things that need to be said, need to be put down. Or he'd wake me up at 3 or 4 in the morning. I could feel the pressure of if it's on the edge of wake up, and it was like, okay, time to work, time to get to work. So it was interesting, because he was larger than life type of person. So it didn't surprise me if he's insisting at 4 a.m. I get up and do some work. So we got through it. It took me fully 2 years. I needed breaks. It was a very emotional journey. But the story, now an award winner, a triple award winner, was very cathartic, emotional, funny, and the reviews have basically spoken for themselves. And it was something that just needed to be written. So the message needed to be put to the world. It was just really important that that be created. And then after that was all said and done, the ideas were just popping in for fiction series, actually based on past life memories as a witch, and loving the paranormal, because in my career, like you said in the intro, I've had a lot of experience with demonic possession and with entity attachment with my clients, who, thought they were depressed and suicidal, but it's actually was something else that was involved. So taking those case studies, taking my knowledge of mythology and demonology, and combining it into, this kind of a witchy, fun tale. It's both funny, it's adventurous, and I have a 4-book series that I'm working on right now. The first one is published. The second one will be published by the end of July, and the next 2 before the end of the year. So I'll release all 4 this year. And that's been so much fun. It's been just such a lovely time, kind of a lovely break from the seriousness of the memoir. But it's been epic. It's been epic. So this is what I do now.
I find your whole background just so fascinating with this, because for one, not everybody's so open about talking about their beliefs in regards to the spirit world, or the afterlife, or even like demonic possession. So I have been in this world of the new age things and spirituality and all that my entire life. But you would have to be the first person that has seriously talked about demonic possession being a real thing. So I'm going to have to talk a little bit more about that. But I just want to go back to your memoir, Dead Men Still Snore, which I think is a fantastic title. So I just started reading it last night, and it's definitely one of those books you can't put down. But I find it so fascinating that your husband came through so strongly, and it sounds like he's helped you all the way through with this book. And so it's part your story, and I guess he's sharing as well. So what was that like? Was it when he started kind of coming through and talking to you and whatnot? Did you just get a pen and paper ready and start writing it down, or how did that work?
He had come in a little after I had woken up in Mexican hospital, not remembering anything, and everyone was speaking Spanish around me. It was really surreal, but time sort of had no meaning, because, with a concussion, you're kind of in and out of consciousness. But I knew that he was gone when the accident happened. Just knew it, felt it in my heart. He was gone. When I had woke up in hospital, they gave me the news that he had passed. So I just absolutely knew. But as I'm laying there and I'm just quiet, and it's, by this time it's night, and everything is quiet in the hospital. And it was a very small clinic in Bacalar, Mexico. And there was only one other person in this room with me. but one other empty bed. Anyways, I woke to the sound of his snoring, hence the name of the book, Dead
Yeah.
Snore. My husband was an epic snorer. He sounded like a locomotive meets coffee percolator meets chainsaw. I can't even describe, but I still have a recording of one that I did one night when he was asleep because he wouldn't believe me. Terrible. And I could hear this snoring and I just woke up and I was looking around and it stopped. And I was like, this is so strange. I absolutely know that was him. And I, just kind of trying to hear into the hallway, down the hall, like, is somebody snoring? There's nobody in my room. Forget it. Just, close my eyes, fall asleep again. And then it happened again. Wake up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I was just like, and is my brain, I know he's gone. It's just like, what is happening? And choosing to ignore it, go back to sleep again. This time when I heard his snoring, I kept my eyes closed. I was just really, really calm. And I was just like, is that you? And he just started talking to me and it was him. And he just, the words, as reading, I'm sure in the book, just started flowing through me. And it was really amazing and beautiful. And I was elevated just out of that space into, it was like I was in the cosmos with him and we're having this conversation and he's telling me all these things and giving me the synopsis for this book and everything. With the accident, though, I have to guess because I don't know, I don't remember the actual accident itself, but I had to have grabbed those handles in the Jeep that you hang on to, right? My fists were so clenched that I couldn't get unclench them. So, I'm telling him, I I can't even write this down. Like I don't even have pen and paper. Like I can't, you're gonna have to wait. I can't even open my hands yet to grab a pen, right? So it was well, later my family, my daughter and a good family friend had come to Mexico to rescue me, which is a story all on its own because I had no identification. Everything had been stolen from us, from right out of the Jeep, right off of our bodies, like you name it. After the accident, there was like no way for anyone to know who I was. Thankfully, it had gotten all sorted out. And within a couple of days, I had one of my daughters and a good family friend come. And I told them like right away, I said, Michael's been trying to give me messages. He's been talking to me. And it's really important that I write all of this down. So they went shopping for things. I had no clothes. I had nothing. Everything was stolen. They actually had to go. They had to buy me clothes and stuff for the time when I could get out of hospital, as they kept me under observation for a while. And they just came with a stack of blank journals and a ton of pens for me to start reading. It was so funny. So I did. I started taking notes, but he gave me a lot of messages for family and friends. Those things I wrote down as they came through. And a lot of times it was 4 in the morning. He'd wake me up, in the hotel room or the hospital, whatever. And I'd just write what I could. And then after I was done writing, I never remembered what it was I'd written because it was for them. It wasn't for me. So I came home with a lot of messages to hand out to people. And at that point, that was sort of that tilting point for me because I was more of a closet spiritualist. Up to this point, I have deeply ingrained beliefs in spirituality and that we are all one and we have a source energy. And based on my work, I'd seen some crazy stuff. So, my belief ran, but I didn't really share that with people. Not a lot of people knew that about me. I had family that was very judgmental of spirituality. So that was difficult. So I kind of kept to myself. So then when I'm handing out these messages, it was like, guess what? This is me now. And now I can actually, speak with Michael. It went on from there to be able to provide a mediumship with clients, for people who had passed. They would come into our sessions and bring messages and stuff. So it sort of expanded from there, which was really cool. But yeah.
That is just so fascinating to me. Oh my gosh. So, are you still in communication with Michael? Is he still around, still giving you messages and things like that?
He does come in, actually less so. There was a point in time, about 8 months after we started writing the book together, that he was like, "Okay, it's time for me to go. I've given you the necessary things that you need, to write into the book, and I need to." He told me sixth dimension, "I need to go hang out there. I've got some work to do, lots of work to do on my end," stuff like that. So he says, "You're not gonna hear from me so much. I won't be, sitting on the end of the bed at night or whatever." And then it was just like, poop. So then I gave it about a month or so and continued with writing and, just living life and trying to figure things out and figure out my new normal. And then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna tap in and see if I can channel him again or see what happens. So I did. I just got real quiet and went into meditation, and I just asked, like, "Are you there?" And then I heard, "Yes, we are." And there was 5 beings, light beings, that appeared before me, and they were just beautiful. They're just these beautiful tunnels of light, gold and yellow and blue, and just amazing. That just the vibration and the energy coming from them was just phenomenal. And I was like, "Well, who are you?" And they said, we are a group. Your higher self, your guides, your angels, call us whatever you'd like, but we're here to help you and assist you moving forward and provide any more messages or whatever that we have that's important for people to know." And I said, "Well, what should I call you?" They said, "You can call us Michael." So it was kind of a really neat, "Oh, okay. So it's more of a group than it is the individual." But since then, he specifically has come in. He's talked to other mediums who've then got a hold of me with a message from him. I was just recently in Portugal. I actually just got back a couple days ago. He was definitely there. I was on a Sacred Earth Journey tour, and we were kind of living the Templar life together. And he came through very, very strongly. In fact, one of the ladies who was there, her name is Nancy Myers at theorbconnection.com. She photographs orbs, and she was taking pictures of all of us as we went through our tour, and she got this beautiful orb right behind me, with Michael's face right in it. It was just amazing. So I knew that he was there. He was with me on the tour. And part of the reason too that he was excited that I went, and that's a whole nother story, how I actually got to go was in itself like divine intervention that I got to go on this trip. But he was like, I wanted you here. I wanted to explain how there's a past life that we had together that was in this time in our history. And he was showing me that he was a Templar Knight. So my interest and fascination in the Knights was justified. And his fascination with being a Freemason was like, oh my God, this all makes sense. So it all came together. So that was really cool. He really just he came in. And when he does that, he's, like I said, he was larger than life. So anytime he's visited a medium or someone who's brought me a message, or like, there's this guy and he is just this larger than life energy. And it's like almost overwhelming, but I need to get this message to you. Like, are you okay with that? Right? It's like, oh, I know who that is. Yeah, fine. Bring it on. So he came in to me as well. And then other times when I've had a client, if there's something that they really need to know, like he'll jab me in the ribs, say, tell them this, tell them that. And it's really more about people understanding that they're more powerful than they think they are. And that, the kind of the day to day, and I think this ties in a lot with my work in hypnotherapy, is that we tend to get caught up in all the minutia, and we forget that we are completely capable of manifesting anything it is that we desire, and anything that we dream. And if we're dreaming it, then it's possible. It's already in that vortex. So divine timing is like, should be my middle name. Honestly, it's just, there's so many things that have happened and lined up, and there is no coincidences. And that was one of the baselines of that memoir too, was to prove coincidences are not a thing. It's all meant to be. And meeting Carissa and working with her with Million Author Manifestation was divine timing, one of these things, not a coincidence. But when you meet and it's like, just explosive. So that's been a real treat for me to be part of that group and to be able to utilize the skills and abilities that I have with the students. It's been fantastic. It's just it's just wonderful. Can't say enough about it.
That's so great. Oh, there's so much that I want to pull apart there. Like, I just have so many questions. I'm like busy taking notes down here as you're talking. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you talked about past life memories, the Knights of the Templar and that, but you also mentioned that has helped guide you with your fiction books, your paranormal and supernatural thrillers and that you're writing. Can you talk about that? So what does that have to do with your past lives, and why fiction? Why not nonfiction then?
Yeah, I'd actually, it was funny because I had started writing a nonfiction book about my past life memories as being a witch. And in this life, it's been very important and cathartic for me to actually live through that past life, because I've spent a lot of this life feeling like I'm going to be burned at the stake. I can't let anyone know how I really, what I really believe in, how I really feel. I can't, let people know what I perceive to be the truth. I'll be burned at the stake. So that was always strange to me. And then I decided I needed to dig into that. It's like I had an experience when I was 10 talking to my uncle about our family history. And he had mentioned, and that's basically when I knew, is he was talking about, my great, 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 great grandmother being burned at the stake as a witch. It was like, oh my God, that was me. And that always stuck with me, although I didn't know or understand where that feeling was coming from. But it's like somebody gut punched me. And I was 10 years old. So it wasn't until I was an adult that I then started to explore that. And when I learned about hypnotherapy and past life regression, it's like, oh my gosh, this might be a way for me to do that. So I had a regular hypnotherapist that I utilized as well for my own practice, my own therapy. And we got into that, and I had full memory of my life and how Michael even tied into that life. He appeared there as well. My daughters were all part of that life as they are now. They're very beautiful spiritual beings, and it was really neat. So my protagonist for this fiction works, because I decided to go with fiction because it's just fun. It's like, well, I can really play with this and just have a lot more fun with it by weaving these things in. Like there's demons in there. There's, parts and pieces of each book are from case studies of mine. There's the whole witchy thing. And that protagonist, Alexandra, she looks like I looked in that life. So that's just been fun. But yes, I did have a nonfiction started, and it was called When I Was a Witch. And it was talking about my discovery of this past life memory and remembering everything there is about this life and where I am in this life and how, I had to keep quiet. And it was just all this thing. It was going to, be good, but this is more fun. This is just so much more fun to do it in a fiction way. So actually at the beginning of the first book, I think at the very beginning, I say the author's note is that this is a work of fiction. However, the demons are real because they are coming from real mythology and demonology studies. So in each book has that aspect of, you could Google them and find out more about the demons that I write about and how and I've just interwoven them into the story. And it's just, it just makes it more fun. So
that is so fascinating. So I want to ask you, so your memoir, you had the added help of being able to connect with Michael and spirit and that. And then with your fiction books, you're connecting a little bit to your past lives. But I'm wondering, when you're writing your fiction, do you also feel like some of the inspiration in that, beyond just your past lives, is also kind of channeled? Do you feel like you have helpers there as well when you're writing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I have helpers, that are actually alive. My alpha readers and so on. And then, every time I sit down and it just starts to flow at the end of the chapter, I'm like, where did that come from? So, there's definitely that aspect to it. And I honestly, it's what I believe in, what we teach our students too, and with the Millionaire Author Manifestation is that's you. That's your higher self. That's guiding you. That's helping you through this, or it's whoever you've called in to help you. My father, he's told me through mediumship that he'll be there for the creative stuff. And he was a very creative man. He was a carpenter, and he was genius. And he's like, no, I'll be there, helping you through all of that. And yeah, I feel his presence. I feel guides. I feel all of that as I sit down to work. And it's when you don't, and when you feel stuck, that's when you have to ask, or you remember to ask, and people don't remember to ask just for that help, call it your muse, call it God, call it whatever you like. It's that part of you that's, out to here. It's, all around 12 feet outside of you that's so eager to help and be there, like for anything going on in your life, not just your author career, but yeah, absolutely. And in the course, I've written, I don't even know at this point how many self-hypnoses. That's always a good idea too. If you have trouble meditating, to do something guided that can sort of call that in and help you to unblock and get out of your own head, right? We're always in our conscious mind, when our conscious mind is only 1% of our mind. Our subconscious mind is 99%. So we forget to use that, forget that we are greater and more powerful than we think we are.
I agree with all of that. And I think that's kind of unusual because as authors, particularly fiction authors, we live in our imagination so much. And so we work with that creative energy all the time, but we do get lost in almost like the intellect of it as well, and forget what else we can call on and outside of ourselves. We do get lost in our own minds a little bit, and that imagination can be a double-edged sword where we can ruminate on sometimes the imposter syndrome or the self-doubt or all of those things as well. So have you found, because I want to talk a little bit about your experience as a hypnotherapist, have you found that has also been able to help you with your writing and your author career as well?
Yeah, for sure. I find that by helping other people, I tend to have a lot more happen for me as well, which is really the way it works. The more you help someone else, the more you help yourself. So I might not, sit down and listen to one of my self-hypnoses like everyone else does. But as I write them and I record them, I notice a change, the next day or whatever. It'd be like, oh my gosh, this and this and this happened for me, opened up for me, flowed for me, whatever it might be. And I was just recording that yesterday. So the stuff works. It 100% works. But yeah, I try to maintain a daily practice of meditation. I'm not always into it, and I don't think it's always necessary. It's sort of, lots of things can be meditative. Going for a bike ride, going for a walk, just sitting in contemplation can be very meditative. It can help you to sort of open yourself up to more creativity. So I think that we kind of get in our own way a lot of times too, by just thinking and oh, I'm struggling. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. But the more you think about the struggle, the more struggle you're going to have. But just sort of sitting and just relaxing and focusing on a more positive frame of mind, you're going to flip that switch and you'll be able to, sit down and really create something good. So, I mean, I'm a huge advocate for hypnosis and self-hypnosis. And I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. So my clients, they don't just come to me just for hypnosis quick fix. We really work on what it is, what's the root cause issue with what's going on with you, that kind of thing. And that's kind of how I ended up, myself and a few of my colleagues, I guess we were meant to do this kind of work, working with entities and attachments and things, because we were noticing that with our depressed, anxious and suicidal ideation clients, that there was something else there. It wasn't just them. We put them into their state of hypnosis to dig in a little deeper and see what we could uncover, assuming maybe it's a childhood trauma, like who knows? And you never know until you're there. And we'd have someone else talking to us. Someone else would come to the surface. So we kind of all, we're calling each other and we're like, is this happening to you? Like, what is going on here? We got together and, had a lot of meetings about what was happening. And then we found one doctor who kind of the same thing happened to her. She's a psychologist, Dr. Modi. And she wrote the book about it. It's called Remarkable Healings. And the same experiences were happening to her. So she went deeper and deeper and deeper into that work. So we followed her instruction on how to do, like how to sort of, in a sense, attract it so that we could help more people through it. And we did. It was like an influx of just a flowing river of people. And it was a lot to deal with. It can be pretty heavy work sometimes. So I did that for quite a few years. And then it was enough. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
enough of this. I was never, ever afraid to do that kind of work. I would go into people's homes and remove attachments that were in the home or whatever, with them, with their house with them, whatever. And so it was kind of that ghost busting, which fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was the beauty part of it is that after a session, or maybe up to 3 sessions, but usually after one session, there's just a 180 flip with that client. So you figured out what's really going on. So that's been really a blessing in my life to be able to do that kind of work. And then now I can write about it. Other parts and pieces of it.
So interesting. So I want to talk more about that, but I just want to backtrack a little bit for people who may be new to hypnotherapy. So my introduction to what hypnotherapy was when I was probably in my teens or something. I read a book, I think that you've read as well, by Brian Wise or like I can't remember, but about past lives and that he came across during. Yeah. So I found that really interesting. And then connecting with you through Carissa Andrews with the Millionaire Author Manifestation course and that. So I've done a couple of your hypnoses and things like that. What would you say is the difference between that and meditation? Like I have felt it, but I can't really describe it. Like I definitely feel it on a more intense level than I do meditation. But how would you describe what the difference is?
Intention. With meditation, you are trying to relax. You're trying to sort of, get out of your own mind. And I mean, everybody meditates sort of for different reasons, but the intention behind it. So with hypnosis, what we're doing is we're allowing the body to calm enough, the body and the mind, this conscious mind, to calm and relax enough that it can, literally step aside and let the subconscious speak and tell us what's really going on with that person. So the more often that you do that, self-hypnosis works just the same way, the easier and quicker it is to receive the answers and to figure out what's going on and where is it in your past or your past lives or where this trauma is buried. So yeah, it's really more, I say it's about the intention because we are just trying to dig deeper. We are intending to heal. With meditation, where intending to relax and be calm and maybe commune with our higher self or what have you, but not necessarily to create massive change in our lives. So with self-hypnosis, we want to correct behaviors that are not serving you anymore. Meditation doesn't call for that. It calls for just, being in a relaxed state and feeling love and joy and whatever it is that you want to bring in. But in order to heal, to truly heal, we kind of need to dig down a little bit into the nitty gritty stuff and find out what's really happening. So you can get over those limiting beliefs and not have that bother you anymore. When it comes to the course and our students and writing in general, writers in general, like you said, there's a lot of limited beliefs. There's a lot of negative mindset and naysaying, to yourself. Like we're our worst critics, right?
Yeah.
So to enable people to sort of move forward with full confidence, which then they are able to manifest a successful career. Got to figure out where that's coming from. Why are you continually in this pattern repeat? And so it's breaking that repeat. It's healing kind of from the inside out or from the deepest part of our subconscious minds. So it's very effective, very, very, very effective. I have worked with a good handful of people who had been in talk therapy for years, up to like 20 years, and they just really weren't getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about their problems every time that they go into the therapist's office. So it's not really, I honestly don't understand how it is that we're supposed to heal from that. Where they come in and, 3 sessions later, they're like, it's gone. Like, this is finally, I'm healed. I think because we figured out what the real root cause was and we didn't have to talk about it. We just had to relax and get out of our own mind and stop talking about it and stop thinking about it. Our minds are incredible things. They can create hormones that we get addicted to, that we want more adrenaline. We want, more of this stuff. And for some people, that means staying in victimhood and staying in that, oh, I can't do this, kind of attitude, because suddenly that dopamine, that hit is feeding the body. And then eventually the body's looking for that hit. So it's going to remind you that you're sad and depressed. It's going to remind you that you've been a victim when you don't have to stay in that memory and in that story. You can change that story anytime. And by doing so, and by consciously being aware of that talk, we change the synapses, the neural synapses in our minds, and we create new pathways, and the old stuff literally dies away. So it's amazing. It's a wonderful science. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he writes a lot about it. He's fabulous if you want to, get into it in a way that, anyone can understand. You don't have to be a neuroscientist to do that. But that's what we're doing when we're doing a corrective self-hypnosis session or hypnosis session. Hypnotherapy is correcting those old patterns and beliefs. So it's very effective.
That's powerful stuff. That's so powerful. So you keep talking about self-hypnosis. So is this something that we need to be trained to do, or is it something that even a layperson could have some kind of effect in helping themselves release or heal from some of their negative mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. Self-hypnosis is close to a meditation, but like I said, it's got the intent, right? So you're first wanting to sort of get out of your own mind and stop the chatter and relax and breathe, just like in meditation. But then with intention, you're going to think about maybe the words that that you continually say, for example, or this negative talk or belief or something that you're struggling with, right? The best way to go about it, I find, is searching through your own body and finding out what it is and where in your own body this sits. And for a lot of people, that maybe is in their sacral chakra area. That's the emotional center of your body. It's your core. And then just relaxing more and breathing is just to kind of thinking, okay, well, if this feeling or these words I keep telling myself is lodged in this area in my body, if there was maybe a silver cord running from that, what does that attach to? And usually in a millisecond, a memory will come to mind. And it's going to be something that, potentially, maybe it was past life, maybe it was your childhood, maybe it was your birth. Who knows? We never know. And then when that happens, you're like, oh, okay, that thing somebody said to me once, that thing that my mother said to me or whatever, I've grown up believing this story is now affecting me in my life. So then you can consciously, with intention, in your self-hypnosis session, rewrite that story. And as authors, that should be easy to do.
Yeah.
Right. So if your story was, I had, for instance, a lot of clients who wanted weight release hypnosis. And a lot of times they'd think of, the time that their mom told them that They need to sit at the table and eat everything off their plate and blah, blah, blah. And it's so damaging. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. Or something's withheld. Love is withheld. The ice cream that you love, the hugs from mom, whatever that was painful for you. Something was withheld, and you can literally sit there and remembering that your subconscious mind doesn't know right and wrong, yes and no, truth or a lie. It just knows what it feels. So as you're there and you're rewriting that story to be something very positive, your subconscious mind registers that back in that emotional center of your body, wherever that pain is that you had felt, and corrects it. And part of the process is not just rewriting the story, but also looking at the source. Maybe it's your mom, right? So walk in her shoes. How did she grow up? Was she told the same thing and now she's telling you? Like whatever it might be. So you find empathy as well and forgiveness for the person who wronged you in the first place. It's miraculous then what happens. And I always ask my clients to give me a scale, like on 1 to 10, 10 being the worst you ever felt, 1 being the best, or vice versa, or whatever. Where are you at? Well, they'll go from, 10, the worst I've ever felt, to I'm a 1 or a 2. Because their emotional or their subconscious mind has re-registered this memory as a new memory in the emotional center, even though we know neither one is the truth. Consciously, we know this. That's not the part that matters. It's the subconscious. And once that's done, then you've changed the story and you can go about, just letting it go, not worrying about it anymore, not thinking about it anymore. Totally changes. It's really
so
good.
fascinating. So fascinating. Okay, so I want to know then a little bit more about, because like I said, I don't think I've ever had this conversation with anybody before, but demonic attachments. So
Mhm.
what does that look like, and how do we know if that's something that we need to be concerned about?
I'll start first with what to look for
Mhm.
and notice about yourself, about your home, about your people that you live with, whatever it might be. One thing probably that comes to mind when there's any kind of an attachment, whether it's, truly demonic or not. Demonic is more, you'll get the physical pain from it as well. You might get scratching or,
Mhm.
there might be a lot of things flying around your house or something is a little darker. But what you feel or what you might catch yourself saying to yourself is something that you're thinking or something that you say. It's like, why did I say that? That's not me. I don't think those things. Or you might, if it's in the case of it being in your home, maybe you and your spouse go to work outside the home and everything is fine and great at work. You come together at home and there's bickering and there's
Mhm.
tension and there's all this stuff going on, but there's no good reason for it.
Mhm.
There's something oppressive in the home. Animals and children are a great giveaway for something going on in the house. If your child ever says there's a monster in their closet or under their bed, there's a monster in their closet or under their bed. Like we need to listen
Mhm.
to them. Pets too, they might not want to go in a room or not want to come in the house, or they turn and they look and they see something. You're like, what are you looking at? They can see orbs, they can see entities, they can see attachments, things like that. So if there's a particular person that your dog will growl at and you wonder why, I think this guy's a nice guy. Like, what's going on? Maybe there's something there. So a lot of it has to do with tension in your own body, depression. Really, there's not a great need for the depression. It's depression, it comes in so many different kinds of forms.
Mhm.
But for somebody who's been generally happy and now they're really depressed for no good reason, something's potentially something is going on there that is attached to them. So yeah, probably the telltale signs are that. And then suicidal ideation. Sometimes there's a contract, with yourself. Well, there's always a contract with yourself and the life that you're going to live. But sometimes the spirit just doesn't want to complete and fulfill that contract. And so people tend to want to check out. And that's fine. There's lessons to be learned in all of it. But sometimes that idea of wanting to end it and wanting to leave isn't their idea. It's something else. So, the best way to find out is really to kind of do this kind of work or work with a therapist who's willing to, a hypnotherapist would be my choice for anyone to kind of go in and see what's happening. And what I did personally was then I would, as I've got someone in a hypnotic state, is to go through their body like an MRI. Like, let's scan your body. Let's see where this is at. Like, there's something bothering you. Where does it sit in your body? And they'll tell me, and maybe it's an elbow or maybe it's whatever. What is that attached to? Or what color is it? And certain colors tend to typically be a demonic presence. And usually that's green, red, or black. And then I'll maybe ask a name. Is there a name attached to this color? And that's when things start to get interesting, because if it is something that is there that shouldn't be, then things can change. Their voices can change. That presence comes forward. The person who is in the actual body, is just kind of in the background, not really aware of what's going on. It can go from something very, very simple to, somebody who just doesn't want to leave this plane of existence. They're clinging. And I work with that energy then and help them to release and remove themselves from the person they're attached to. Or it could be something a little more severe and serious. So, I've had both and everything in between. And it's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. It's out there. It's like every horror movie on demand, right? But real life. So what can the average person do then just to protect themselves, to make sure that that isn't something that attaches to them? Or
the first step would be to be aware of their thoughts and be aware that they're in a state of depression, and to understand fully, totally, and completely that it is not in our natural nature as human beings to be depressed. We are born to be joyful. We are born to have fun, to explore, to play, to be happy. When you're in a state of depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, you are out of alignment with who you are actually meant to be. So acknowledging that and realizing that, noticing that, and then having a little faith and a little trust that the universe is there to help you and support you and everyone in it, and to ask for help, to ask for relief, to ask for whatever this is in you, on you, around you, part of you, to just be released, to just go to the light, and then be the light, be love, be loving to yourself, to everything around you and everyone around you. If there's people in your life that are extremely negative and abusive or what have you, you really need to sort of decide to separate and divide from that, because that energy is part of your energy. And decide what it is that you want in your life. Do you want to be happy? Then be with people who are happy. Listen to things that make you happy. Watch things that make you laugh. Don't turn off the news. Oh my God. Number one. And, listen to happy music. Listen to things to raise the vibrational energy of your existence, of your body, of your aura, of your spirit. You can come out of it. You can. But you first have to realize that being depressed is not your natural state. It is not where you were meant to be on this earth. And then you can go from there and move mountains.
Yeah, I think that's a really good reminder, because I think I know I need to keep reminding myself that a lot, but I think everybody needs to hear that our natural state is to enjoy life, is to be joyful, is to, I think a lot of us hold ourselves back from actually enjoying our time here on earth. And as we all know, it can be so fleeting. So this is the moment to enjoy life. And I really like how you were saying before too, that at the kind of core of all that you do, it's that reminder too that we are more powerful than we often think we are, So
Yeah.
I think that's really, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big message. Yeah. Is to realize that and accept it. And once you do that, you can start working with it. And then, oh my gosh, it's you're limitless.
That's right.
Uh,
That's right. Anything's possible. That is
anything.
so cool. Wow. So just as we start to wrap up here, what's next for you then? So you've got another paranormal supernatural book coming out shortly. And then what's next on the radar for you?
I'm going to get these 4 books out, and they're not standalones. So they go from book to book to book. The first one's called Witches and Walk-ins, and that one's out now. And the next one is Castles and Cauldrons, and they're all things witchy and fun, and I'm just really enjoying writing them. They might not be like your total typical paranormal fantasy type book, but I don't know. So far, the reviews have been really, really so. So I'm just writing from my own soul. It's just this is the story that I want to tell, and weaving all of these different parts and pieces into it. It's been a challenge, but it's been fun. It's been really fun. It's like, oh my God. And when it all comes together, it's like, yeah, thank you. Well, everybody, your team is behind you 100% when you get to the end of it. And you're like, wow, here we go. Another book out. Yay. Yeah. And then after that, oh my gosh, there's, ideas, they come and they go. It's like, what do I want to do next? So probably paranormal cozy mystery for me. I have some ideas about that. I, obviously read a lot of that kind of genre and looking at what do I want to do that's maybe a little bit different than the genre expectation. What can I add to that? So there's a lot of notes being taken, a lot of ideas flowing, and also the humor in it too. Like there's a lot of humor in these books that I'm writing now. So, in the first book, it goes from there's a lot of comedy. I have a black cat that can speak to the protagonist. He's a total snob. He's like, it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And, to some real spooky, scary Stephen King type stuff and everything in between. So I'm having a really good time with that. And then, so probably cozy mystery, but I'm not sure yet. I think by the end of this year, I'll have that pegged down and start writing in that genre. I could do paranormal romance. I don't know. It's funny because really the sky is the limit. Create anything you want. The problem is be like, I just want to create like everything all at once, all together.
I understand that.
I got to decide on a direction and then go from there. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but something. I'm going to keep going. I'm just loving this. This is I was calling this my retirement gig. But I realized, actually a lot of work goes into writing.
Yeah.
Publishing, doing all the things. I can't call myself retired anymore. So
No, but as long as it is fun, right? And it looks like you're really enjoying yourself. So that's what it's all about.
yes, so much fun. And I get to do fun stuff like this podcast with like you.
Oh, it's so good. So good. Well, I've had so much fun just chatting with you, and I just find everything that you've talked about just so fascinating. So for those listeners who want to connect with you and learn more about your books and your time as a hypnotherapist and everything else, how can they connect with you?
Oh, I'm happy if anybody has questions or is looking for a session or has questions about, things that they're concerned with. They can email me directly at tammytyree.com. It's TYREE.com. My website is tammytyree.com. And my books, I'm actually gearing up to sell direct and go wide. Right now, I'm on Amazon. And I am with Ingram Spark, so I am wide as well. But anyway, yeah, that's it. TammyTyree.com. I've got a little bit of information on there, obviously, about my books, not much on there about hypnotherapy. So if anybody has questions, it's best just to email me directly and we can have a chat.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I have, just found our conversation so fascinating. It's very, very cool. Thank you.
So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Here are some takeaways from today's show. 1. You are more powerful than you likely give yourself credit for. 2. We're all capable of manifesting anything we desire. If we can dream it, it's possible. 3. When you're feeling stuck in your writing, consider calling upon your invisible helpers, whatever aligns with your beliefs. Call them guides, angels, higher self, for example. 4. If you're finding yourself held back by certain behaviours, beliefs, or fears, consider working with a hypnotherapist or working with self-hypnosis to heal and correct behaviours not serving you. 5. Most importantly, as Tammy says, we are born to be joyful and to have fun, explore, play, and be happy. Find ways to bring more of these positive energies into your life. So there we are, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I'll have all the links to check out Tammy's books, which I highly recommend, and some of the resources she referenced in this episode in the show notes and on my website. And if you're interested in reading my new paranormal cozy Hades Haunt that's launching on July 11th, I'll make sure that there are also links to pre-order that available too. Finally, if you're an author or know of someone who can speak about manifestation or mindset as it pertains to the author life, or any aspect of writing, publishing, or marketing, and who you think would be a good fit to be on the show, please email me at joe@joebuer.com. I have some time coming up in the next little while that I would love to spend doing some more interviews to get some more amazing episodes out for you all. Right, so if you enjoyed this episode, as always, you'd be helping me out immensely by rating or reviewing the show and sharing it with others. I'd be super grateful to increase the reach of Alchemy for Authors through your support. Otherwise, I am wishing you a wonderful writing week ahead, my friends. Bye for now.